now. Actually, not yet. Let's see. Let me share my screen on YouTube. Give me 1 second, guys. Leslie, welcome. Yes. Okay. All right. Cool. So if you go to YouTube, you should be able to see the screen. Leslie, welcome. Sukia, welcome. Um, and Sukia, what are you trying to say? Okay, so what we're gonna do today is something that I thought about recently, and actually, you guys been asking me questions about those. So we're gonna do a couple of those, which is basically SAT prep. Some of those questions apply to ACT as well. So if you're on the screen, you'll be able to see that. If you're on YouTube or Facebook too, you'll be able to see that. Melanie, welcome. All right, cool. So let me go and start. Cut to the chase. So the first thing that we're gonna solve, we're gonna go over is this question right here. So what they give us is they give us a graph, a line. Let me blow this up so that way that you can see it. So they give us a graph, a line with with a graph with a line in it, and they ask us to find and let's see. Let me go this way. So they ask us basically to find what is the slope. So they say if the line drawn above is translated above 3 unit to the left, actually to the left, and 6 unit down, what is the slope of the new line? Now here is the way not to do this. But first, let's go on the way you don't want to do this because this is the SAT. It's time. The way that you don't want to do this is by starting to translate the line. So what most people would do in this case is, they would effectively draw the line, and then try to translate it to 3 unit to the left, which is maybe somewhere here, and then 6 unit down, which may be somewhere here. That's not what you want to do. Actually, if you do this, you'll still get the same answer. You'll still get the same answer. Let's say you end up with a line that is, let's say you end up with a line that is all the way here. What you can notice is this line, the original line that we started with, this the one in green, and whatever you end up here in red is exactly parallel to this. So now, what does that tell you? That tells you that whatever the slope of the line that you end up with is the same slope as the line that the original line that you started. So what I mean by that is in theorem in mathematics, this is probably what you normally hear in your class. You know, if two lines are parallel, that means they have the same slope. Now, if I have the span right here and I translate it up, or down, and I don't change, I don't change the orientation. I don't change how it, if it's going up this way, I don't change that. I still keep the same slope. So translated, it doesn't really change the slope. It just stays in the same, direction that it was going this way. So that doesn't change the slope. So that means you're gonna whatever line that you're gonna end up with is gonna be parallel to the original line, but also that means it's gonna have the same slope. So all we have to do really is calculate the slope of the original line, and that will tell us what the slope of the new line is. Does that make sense? So I'm sorry to hear that you felt algebra PD. Well, hopefully you get some help. That's the best way to do better next time. Get some help. Get somebody to help you. All right, cool. So now, how do we find a slope? And we have 2 points. If we have 2 points, that means we can find a slope. Now, if we look at this point right here, and it looks like it looks like it's, the x coordinate is 3 and the y coordinate is 1. So this is the point 3, 1, correct? Uh, ACT is a bit better. Okay, Yoda. All right, the x coordinate is 3, the y coordinate is 1. The same thing for this one, right? if we look at this point, the x coordinate is actually 0, the y coordinate is 5. So 0, 5. Now we get 2 points, we can find a slope. How do we find a slope? Rise over run. So what's this? What does that mean? The difference in y values divided by the difference in x values. So how do we find the slope of this thing? So I have a point of 3, 1, and I also have one of 0, 5. So 3, 1. I also have another point of 0, 5. So what's the difference in y values? So I think the y values of this guy minus the y values of this one. So that would mean 5. Let's say if I call this point A and I call this point B. So the slope, I don't know why they call it, they usually denote it M. So the slope is what? That would be what? The y coordinate of the point B, which is 5, minus the y coordinate of the point A, which is 1, right? Divided by the x coordinate of the point B. No problem, King. No problem. The x coordinate of the point B, which is what? 0, minus the x coordinate of the point A, which is 3. Okay, so now that's an easy calculation. 5 minus 1. Actually, I won't do that. I'm going to go up a little bit. 5 minus 1. So if I do this correctly, 5 minus 1 is 4. And then 0 minus 3 is -3. So this slope that I'm looking for is -4 over 3, which gives you what answer choice that we have is B, -4 over 3. Now, here's the deal. Let's go back and see what we did. How did we end up with B as the answer choice? The first thing that I noticed is, yeah, Lena, good, 4. So the slope actually is -4 over 3. So the first thing that I noticed is they asked me questions about the slope of a translated line, which means whatever the original, if we translate the line up and down to the left or to the right, wherever you translate it to, if it's a translation, you don't actually change the slope. So that means the slope of the original line is going to be the same as the slope of the final line that we're going to end up with. So, and because I'm taking the SAT and I want to be fast, I don't actually go and translate the line. I just know that if I translate the line, if I do a translation, the slope is going to be exactly the same as what it was when we started. So what I do is I said, hey, okay, let me start with the original slope, and whatever I find for that is going to be the slope of the final line. So how do we find a slope? Rise over one, run, rise over run. So that means the difference in y values divided by the difference in x values, and we end up with a slope of -4 over 3. Guys, any questions? Welcome. I wish I could say y'all name. Jima, welcome. Any questions? Anything else that's confusing about what we just did? SK, welcome. Okay. So I think we can do something else. Another one. Now this one is probably has more to do with. Let me look for it. This one is. Let's do this one. Let's do complex numbers. So we'll do a bunch of them about complex numbers. Let's do 5, maybe 4 before 5. So let's do number 4. So, all right, I'm glad you got it. All right, cool. Jovina, welcome. Sydney, welcome. So let's do this one. So what they give us is a complex is an expression, and they ask us to simplify to form a plus bi. But what they really want to know is what's the value of b. So what that means is what's the value of the coefficient that is in front of the I, and that's one thing that we need to understand. Now, in order for us to simplify this expression, all we had to do is multiply by the complex conjugate of what we have. So And what the conjugate means is, so if I have 1 minus 2i, the conjugate of that is 1 plus 2i. Here's what that's going to do. The whole point of doing this is to make sure that we don't have any I in the denominator, because what we normally deal with as, real numbers. So 1, 2, 2.5, 5, 1 over 3, you know, those real numbers, 1 over 30 and all that stuff. So that's what we normally do deal with. Now we want to make sure that we don't have any I in the denominator. And in order for us to do that, we just got to multiply the top of the equation of the expression and the bottom of the expression, which is the numerator and the denominator, by the conjugate. The conjugate, all you have to do is find a conjugate. Whatever is in the denominator, you change the sign of what's in front of the I. So I had 1 minus 2i. The conjugate will be 1 plus 2i. Easy, right? So I haven't checked. Normally they used to be every 2 months. So I don't know if there's one coming up, Yoda. I don't know if there's one coming up soon. I haven't checked. Maybe you should tell me. I know they stopped requiring them for certain colleges and stuff because of COVID, but I haven't checked. And apparently some kids are still taking them. So what we're gonna do is multiply effectively. So we started with 10i, 1 minus 2i divided by 1 minus 2i. I'm gonna multiply the top, and I'm gonna change color so that way you understand what I'm doing. I'm gonna multiply the top and the bottom by the conjugate, which I told you the conjugate of that is this, right? 1 plus 2i. And the reason why I want to multiply the top and the bottom is to keep the value of the expression the same. So whatever, when you have, a mathematical expression, if you do something to the numerator, you got to do the exact same thing to the denominator. So if I multiply the numerator by by a number, I got to multiply the denominator by the same number to keep everything the same. So what that really means is I didn't really, in this case, I didn't really do nothing. I didn't change the value of the expression. So all I got to do is, find whatever this is equal to. That means whatever I find is equivalent to the original expression because I didn't change the value of that. Glad you passed Algebra 1. Okay, so let's see. So here's what we're gonna do. All right, so we're gonna multiply. We're gonna distribute first. We're gonna distribute, which is we're gonna multiply the 10i by 1. So 10i multiplied by 1 plus 10i. I'm gonna multiply by 2i. 10i multiplied by 2i. And what does that give me? That gives me 10i times 1 times 10i multiplied by 2i. So I got that. And then what's the second part of this? So we got to do the denominator. And there are two ways we can distribute. We can find the value of the denominator. The first way is by using distributive property. So multiply the 1 by this, multiply the 1 by this, and then multiply 2i by 1, 2i by 2i, negative 2i by 2i. Now that's a long way to do it. The other way that we can do it is this is in the form of a plus b multiplied by a minus b, which is, so this is in the form of a plus b multiplied by a minus b, which is the same thing as saying it is a squared minus b squared. Difference of squares. So if you don't know that, that's okay. We can go the easy route. I just want to make sure that you guys know that was an option. Actually, if you're taking the SAT, you probably want to go that route because it will save you some time. So, but let's multiply it through. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 multiplied by 2i is plus 2i. And negative 2i times 1 is negative 2i. And negative 2i times 2i is negative 4i squared. Now, can you flip the camera? Hold up. Oh no, actually go to YouTube and you'll be able to see. Sorry. PD, go to YouTube. You'll be able to see. You'll be able to see the screen as well as my face. So this is you won't be able to see it on the screen that you are. Just go to YouTube and type the Jack Studio. It's live, so you'll be able to see it. Yeah. All right. Cool. No problem. So, all right. Let's see. Maybe next time. Maybe next time I can. Another center. Never taken another standardized test ever. Maybe next time I can probably show the screen, but I don't know that would look kind of weird because you won't be able to see. I won't be able to see y'all what question that you guys asked. All right, so no sound, man. Wait, thank you for telling me. I don't know why this has no sound. Okay, hold up. Wow, wait a minute. Hey, can you hear me now? I hope this is not. I hope I was not. Let me see. I think the sound should be on now. This tells you how. Let me see. All right, can you hear me better now? Because this should be. Um, I didn't have my mic close to me. Can you hear me better now? She said there was no sound. All right, I hope you can hear me. I don't know what's going on with Instagram too. Last time I recorded something here, there was no sound at all. And I don't know what's going on with that. Let's see. No, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Well, hopefully you can hear me. If not, go to YouTube. You'll be able to see the screen and also hear me as well. So let's continue with this. So I have 10i times 1, which is 10i. And then 10 times 2, which is 20. But I times I is I squared. This is not a 20. 20 I squared. And I hope you see where this is coming from. So now 2i, this is gone at the denominator, 1. So I'm here with 1. And then minus 4i squared, minus 4i squared. Now we're almost done, right? So let's go up. Let me put a line here so you don't confuse these two. This is a different step. Let's go up. So now here's where we're at. 10i plus 20i squared divided by, this whole thing divided by 1 minus 4i squared. So now what we can do is saying 10i plus 20. What is I squared? What's the value of I squared? I squared is -1. Jelly, welcome. Yoda, welcome back. So I squared is -1. I'll put -1 here. Divided by 1 minus 4. I squared again is -1. I'll put -1 here. Now let's continue. So 10i minus 20 divided by 1. -4 times -1 is what? +4. So 1 plus 4. I'm gonna do it in steps so I don't lose you guys. 1 plus 4. Now let's continue again. 10i minus 20 divided by 1 plus 4 is 5, correct? So now what can we do? Is the same thing as saying 10i divided by 5 minus 20 divided by 5, correct? So 10i divided by 5 is what? 2i. And 20 divided by 5 is 4. Another way to write this is -4 plus 2i. And that's like actually the proper way in an a plus bi form. Now, what was the question about? What was the question about? What did they ask us for? They say, hey, what is the value of what? What's the value of b, which is the coefficient, like I said before, the coefficient that was right in front of the I. So in this case, we have -4 plus 2i And the coefficient that's right in front of the I is 2. So B is equal to 2. And the answer choice that we're looking for is C. And that's it. Yeah, so here's how we did this. So we found we had an expression, and they wanted us to find the value of B. They wanted us to find the value of the coefficient that's in front of the I. And all we did is we multiplied this expression by its conjugate, which what that allow us to do is get rid of that I in the denominator. And then after we did that, we simplify, and we end up with 4 minus 2I plus 4, and we found the coefficient. I mean, negative 4 plus 2I. We found the coefficient that we're looking for, which is B is equal to 2, and that's all. All right, cool. So let's see. Let's see if we can do one more. So let's do this one. 5. So they ask us write the expression 5 square root of negative 16 as a complex number. Now, all right. So let's see. 5 square root of negative 16 as a complex number. Let's see. 5 square root of negative 16. I'm doing well. How are you? Square root of negative 16 as a complex number. Let's see. That's what they say, right? 5 square root of negative 16 as a complex number. Now, how do we write this? How do we write 5 square root of negative 16 as a complex number? So the first thing we're going to do is saying, okay, what is the other way that we can write this? There are two ways that you can think about this. First way to think about it is saying I squared is equal to negative 1. And I just replace the negative 1 here by I squared. I think this is usually the easiest way for me to think about it. 16. I squared is equal to negative 1. So I had a negative 1 here, which is negative 16. That means negative 1 multiplied by 16. I had a negative 1 here. I just replaced that by I squared. Now, how do you take the square root of this? 5 square root of 16 multiplied by the square root of I squared, which gives you 5. Square root of 16 is 4. Square root of I squared is I in this case, 20I. Now, here's another way that you can effectively think about this, saying that if you know the square root of, if you know I is equal to square root of negative 1, let's say this is what you learn in class, I is equal to square root of negative 1. So now what you can write 5 square root of negative 16 as, you can write that as 5 multiplied by square root of negative 1, multiply that by square root of 16. Now, how am I able to write it this way? Is because all I had here is 5 square root of negative 1 times square root of 16, and I just split the radical. Square root of 16. So now I can do the same thing I did earlier. 5 square root of negative 1 is I. Square root of 16 is 4. 5 times 4, 20I. Either way you slice and dice it is 20I. Matthew, welcome. Kenny, welcome. So yeah, I think this is how you would do it. We would do this one. Let's see if I have about relating to complex numbers. Let's see if I have another one relating to complex numbers. And after that, we could probably call it a night. Let's see. All right, let's do another one that's easy. So here is another thing that I see sometimes kids have problem with. So let me try to solve this problem. And it has nothing to do with complex numbers, but we'll try to solve this. So let's say that I have this right here. And I want to know the value of m. So what I have is a equal to m divided by m minus n. And at first, when you look at this, you're probably thinking that there's no way that it's not that easy. Yeah, I know something about calculus, Yoda. If you're taking a class, I could probably help you too. So it's when you look at this, it's like, hey, it's not that easy to come up with a value for m. But what you really have is the the easiest way to think about this is, okay, it's kind of like I have a divided by 1 is equal to m divided by m minus n. Now, why do I do this? Because I want you to understand what we're about to do here, which is cross multiply. So what does that mean is I can multiply this guy. And there are many ways that you can solve this. It's not the easiest. I mean, there are many ways that you can solve it. So cross multiply. I multiply the a by this, and I multiply the 1 by the m. What does that give me? So a m minus n is equal to 1 times m, which is m. Now, okay, what else we can do? We can distribute. We can distribute the a m minus a n is equal to m. Okay, what we're looking for? We're looking for m. So what I want to do is isolate everything that has m, put it in one side of the equality, and everything that doesn't have m, I'll put it in the other side of the equality. Jasmine, welcome. So what I'll do here is saying, okay, m, am, I have this m here. I'm going to move it from one side to this side. I mean, this changes sign. The other way to think about, and then I have this, I'm going to move it here to here. And that means this changes sign. The other way to think about this is the same thing as saying I add negative m to both sides. And then after that, I do a next step and I add positive an to both sides. It's the same way. It's the same way to think about that. And if you do it this way, the way that I'm doing it is normally faster. But if you it's the actually same way to think about it. So now, what did I say? This here's how I'm doing it. I say, okay, if I have m here, I want to move it from the right side of the equality to the left side. And all I have to do is just move it and then change the sign. This was positive m, it becomes negative m. The same thing for an. I want to move it from the left side of the equality to the right side of the equality. All I have to do is change the sign. It was negative an here. It becomes positive an here. It's the same thing. So now I can do as factor m a minus 1 divided by an. And how do I solve for m? Divide both sides by a minus 1. And I get m is equal to an divided by a minus 1. All right, so let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's see. Let's see if we have what answer choices that they gave us. An divided by a minus 1, which is choice A. That's it. So how did I do this? How did I get to the answer? The first thing that I did, I said, okay, what did they ask me for? They asked me for m. So the easiest way to find for m is to get everything that has m to one side of the equality. Now, in this case, you had a, m divided by some other stuff. So what I did is I cross multiply. I multiply the m by 1 here, and I multiply the a by m minus n. Now, after that, I distribute and isolate m, and then I solve for m, which is an divided by a minus 1. Any questions, guys? Questions and concerns? Okay. Let me see if I have any questions on. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Gmail. I think that's how you pronounce your name, right? So yeah. So that's how I would do this one. And guys, and thank you all for stopping by. And I think this is it. We're gonna call it a night. And I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Same time, same place. And if you not on I would say go follow us on YouTube so that way that you don't miss those when they start. Hopefully I was sharing my screen and not the the hopefully I was sharing my screen. Let's see. All right, cool. All right, no problem. Lena, thank you. Jima, thank you. You're welcome. And I look forward to seeing you guys another time next Tuesday, actually. And this is it. Y'all have a good night. Thanks. Bye.